Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, in less than 2 weeks, junior doctors in England will stage an unprecedented all-out strike over the government's intention to impose a new contract on them. It's the first time they'll be removing emergency cover. Today, 2 of them began what they say is a permanent protest outside the Department of Health, calling for Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt to reopen talks and avert strike action that the Chief Medical Officer says will inevitably lead to patients suffering. Our health and social care correspondent Victoria MacDonald reports.
There is a chair with his name on it, an invitation to the Health Secretary to sit down and talk with these junior doctors. A response, they say, to his claim that the door is always open.
He's got to be in London.
So at 10 a.m. this morning, they filmed this.
And we've come here today because we would very much like to talk to the Secretary of State.
A request for a meeting with Jeremy Hunt. He wasn't there, they were told. What are you going to say to him that he hasn't already heard?
Well, I'm not sure he has heard anything of substance from grassroots junior doctors, because in spite of claiming multiple times that his door is always open to us, to our knowledge, he hasn't met with a single one of us since this dispute began last summer.
I think everybody has stopped believing the government spin that this is all about Saturday pay. What this is about is doctors, 54,000 of us, blowing the whistle that you cannot provide 7 days worth of care with 5 days worth of staffing and 5 days worth of funding.
The 2 now plan to sleep overnight outside the health department. Others will take over tomorrow. It's not just that we are now less than 2 weeks away from the first ever all-out junior doctors strike that's putting pressure on the government. Tomorrow, the February figures will be published for A&E waiting times, ambulance performances and 111 call centres. And they are expected to be dire.
Not safe, not fair, Jeremy Hunt doesn't care.
And the planned strike from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on 2 days at the end of this month will only see hospitals further stretched and more operations cancelled. Today, in an interview with Channel 4 News, the president of the Royal College of Physicians urged both sides to get back to the table. But she also queried the government's justification for the new contract.
The NHS at the moment is creaking at the knees. It's underfunded, underdoctored and overstretched. And when it's feeling like that, which has a big effect on morale, it's very difficult to see how it can be stretched further to cover 7 days.
And yet that is the crux of the government's argument for taking on the junior doctors.
Yes, and it's very difficult to see how improving or increasing the amount of time that junior doctors work or changing the junior doctors' contract will actually make any difference to that.
And while England's Chief Medical Officer has urged junior doctors to consider their professional responsibilities before the next strike, she also said she could understand their anger and frustration. The Department of Health said the escalation of strike action by the BMA would inevitably put patients in harm's way, and that the government had continually sought a negotiated solution over 3 years of talks. But by this evening, no sign of the Health Secretary coming over for a chat, and the 2 doctors now face a long night outside.
Victoria MacDonald reporting.
I've been getting away with it all my